What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be another important day for the markets as we have big data coming out, not to mention some new developments for Tesla as we got some bullish news. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. Soft rents in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, we're doing a very, very good job so far. Tesla had this low all the way down here in the 180s, came all the way back up on the daily chart, established a higher low close to the 200 EMA, only to continue to push. So overall, Tesla's doing a good job at pumping, and it also outperformed the market. Tesla was up 4.9% for the day today, despite the fact that SPY and ES were only up they're actually down about 0.2 to 0.3%. And then the QQQ was up only about 0.09%. So Tesla outperformed the market, saw a very, very nice pump. And the question is, why did that happen? So there's this big news that came out. Tesla's saying that they will launch FSD in Europe and China early next year. That's very, very bullish news. Great for the company. And what's so good about this is because Tesla will have a lot more data coming in from Europe and China once we get their approvals. We're waiting for regulatory approvals right now, but they're saying that in the first quarter of 2025, they should be ready to launch this. And that's huge news. So, with more data coming out, this is going to help them improve FSD all over the world. It's going to help the technology go global. And this is once again a very, very massive piece of news for them, as it's going to be a very, very big revenue driving factor for them moving forward. So, that's some big news for them. We have a new updated AI product roadmap that has come out. This is also very, very bullish for Tesla, from new developments with software updates, new parking assist features for the Cybertruck and such. Then we have the October Robotaxi event, followed by FSD potentially coming out in Q1 of 2025 for Europe and China. Once again, waiting for regulatory approval. So that's some good news for us moving forward. Also, Elon Musk said that there's going to be improved amounts of miles per necessary interventions as well. So a lot of developments are coming as Tesla is very invested in AI and self-driving, and this is very bullish for the long term. That's why Tesla greatly outperformed the market. Now, from a technical standpoint, we do look more bullish on Tesla, but I can't make that promise that we're going to like for sure push tomorrow, because it depends on some data. So I want to focus on the data for the markets first before I break some more information about Tesla. So tomorrow is going to be another important day. It's going to be Friday, September 6th, 2024. 1 hour before the market ends up opening, we have some very, very huge data. We have the non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate coming out. This is going to be huge. Then we also have the governmental, manufacturing, and non-farm payrolls all coming out. That's also very, very important for us. So we'll see how this ends up going. Then we have a couple of Fed speakers later on, but the main piece of data is going to be at 1 hour before the market opens. Now, the most important thing is going to be the unemployment rate, as this will affect the Fed's policies. The last time this came out, this was well above expectations. So if this is really hot at 4.5, 4.6%, expect a rug pull likely in the markets. It's not going to be the best, as it may lead to recessionary fears. But if this is aligned with expectations between 4.2 and 4.3%, this could be decent for the markets for tomorrow. So we'll just have to wait and see what this looks like tomorrow. Be very, very patient with that. That's very, very important. Now, other factors about the markets. Tomorrow we have big lots announcing their earnings. Whatever they announce could be important, so we'll see how that goes. For other factors out there, we also have right now about a 57% chance we get a 25 basis point cut, and about a 43% chance we get a 50 basis point cut. So we'll see how things end up going. We have FOMC in less than about 2 weeks from now, and then we'll see what ends up happening from there. But this is some very, very important news, at least for the markets. Next week, we also have like CPI. Then in 2 weeks, we have FOMC. So just keep that in your guys' radars. Um, for the markets right now, we're neutral. We're actually pretty neutral right now. The market's about to make a big decision. We're at a very, very key level for the S&P 500, which will affect Tesla ultimately in the markets. Momentum is currently at fear. We're going to see how this ends up moving. We're very close to 125 daily moving average. We'll see if we bounce off this support or not. And then the put and call option ratio is going up for the markets, especially for the last 5-day average. This is just a 5-day average, by the way. So it's going up because we're seeing a lot more shorts piling in. There's a lot of fear building as a result of that. Will the shorts get squeezed, or are the shorts about to, be victorious? We'll just have to wait and see. The VIX is on a bit of an uptrend. It's been dipping a little bit today, but it's not really enough for us to say it's a trend shift. It could still see another spike if we get some bad data tomorrow with the bad reaction, or the opposite could happen as well. So we'll see how that ends up going. For a few more things, for SPY, please remember that there's about 280,000 calls expiring, and we have over 650,000 of these puts expiring for a 552 max pain, with 2.29 being the put to call ratio. So if I was a market maker, it would be a little bit more advantageous to get us up to about 552, but we'll see if they end up doing that. It depends on the data, of course. You never know sometimes, but it is more advantageous for them to get a decent close. For Tesla now, GLJ Research gave us a sell rating, so did Cantor Fitzgerald. They gave us a neutral rating. So that's what we're seeing from now. But despite the fact that Tesla's already pushing and it's been pushing since, it doesn't really make sense to just start, panicking out quite yet. The price price ratio is going up as we're gaining some strength, so that's a good piece of news for Tesla. And Fridays are historically green about 49% of the time for Tesla. So that's pretty good. We tend to see more volatility around market open and also around 1 p.m. That's when we tend to see more volatility. And finally, at the way that this is moving, we have about 119 million in volume. That's well above average, more than 20% more volume than usual. Good piece of news for Tesla. Volume is coming in, buyers are coming in, and we're seeing a lot of buy orders. With that being said, guys, let's now just focus on the charts and talk about what the charts are suggesting. What on earth is going on in my personal opinion? So like I said before, we have the unemployment numbers an hour before market open. That's the big factor affecting Tesla and the broader markets. But if we ignore that, the daily is getting more volume and looking more bullish for Tesla. And then you also have to consider that Tesla had this low down here in the 180s, came up, made a higher low, bouncing off our 200 EMA to continue to push. So it looks bullish. And then also, when you look at the 4 hour time frame on Tesla, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders right now. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders. There's a left shoulder here, a head, and then a right shoulder forming. So this suggests that upside is looking a little bit more favorable, at least for this share price moving forward. One could also interpret this as a cup and handle that's forming right over here. So there's different interpretations of this, but this still looks more bullish, technically speaking. So hypothetically, if we pump tomorrow or next week, you want to see us break past resistance around 235. If 235 breaks, I think Tesla's going to be pushing for this imbalance fill, and it's going to be pushing for the mid 240s. Okay. But if we end up losing support at 225, if 225 fails on Tesla, there is a risk of Tesla dipping. We have a gap to fill all the way down around 219. So if 225 fails us, there's a risk of Tesla dipping a little bit lower to like 222, if not the gap fill to 219. So we'll see which way we end up going. If we lose 225, I will be a little bit more concerned. If we push for 235 and break that, we're a lot more bullish. So we'll just have to wait and see. Technicals do favor upside for Tesla. It looks more probable that Tesla's going to be pushing for the 240s. That's more likely, but it's not a guarantee yet. It's not going to be a promise until we see the unemployment data. Unfortunately, I am not someone with insider information. I don't know what the data is going to look like tomorrow before the market opens. I'm not a fortune teller, so I can't make any promises. I can tell you this: we do look more bullish on Tesla, so we'll just have to wait and see if the bullish move ends up playing out. So that's my view of Tesla right now. We look more bullish, but we'll just have to see what the data suggests just to be safe. For SPY, we look so right now, kind of in the middle. We're basically stuck within our range right now. So what's interesting is we did dip a little bit, but then SPY now has this 200 EMA that was trending a little bit more upwards today, which led us to essentially hitting support at 547. So that's now a critical area. Now, when you zoom out of SPY, we have a possible falling wedge that's forming, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Once again, it depends on the data. But if we lose 547 tomorrow and we get bad data or a bad reaction, we could be dumping all the way down to 543 to fill the gap on the daily. So if we get a bad reaction and lose 547, we're going to be coming down to fill that gap. If we get a positive reaction tomorrow and we break past 552.64, I think that as long as we hold above that for over 4 hours, we could be looking for a rally back up to 555 or higher. So if we break 552.64, we could remain more bullish if we hold above that. And if we end up losing 550, you're looking at 547 as the main support. If that fails, then we turn more bearish. So make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. Right now, the chart's very indecisive. If you look at the daily, we're just stuck between two EMAs, and we're just waiting to see what the big move is going to be. So we have to give this some time until we see the data. For ES, we're also range bound. We basically have this resistance to watch for around 5557. So 55.57 and 55.10 is going to be our support at the 50 EMA. right now we're just stuck going back and forth and back and forth. So we'll just have to see which way we end up breaking, at least from here. But in my personal opinion, there's a little bit of weakness building. And I'm seeing a little bit of weakness, which could lead us to coming down to some of these imbalances. So we'll see, just to be safe. But I just want to say that we are technically range bound on ES. We haven't officially lost critical support. We're barely holding it. It's looking a little bit weaker than SPY, but we just have to wait and see just for confirmation. So make sure you watch these levels I mark right here, the 55.10 area and then the 54.80 below that. And for resistance, you're looking at 55.50 for another push. We're just range bound, so give this the time it needs. For others out there, we have Nvda. Nvidia is also range bound. Look at 107.8 as resistance, followed by 110. And our main support's at 104. We're completely stuck in the middle. So whichever way we break will determine the bigger move. Now the PPO down here is looking like it's trying to get a crossover. So this does suggest that there is potential for upside for Nvidia. But this all depends on the data for tomorrow. If we break 110, we're looking for 112 and 116. If we lose 104, we're looking for a rug pull to 99. We'll just have to wait and see, guys. I'm in the middle right now. It depends on the data, so give it the time it needs. For Bitcoin, we're on a bit of a downtrend right now, so the chart's looking more bearish. Technically speaking, it is more bearish. So it's been making lower highs and lower lows, but we have this critical support around this 56,000 area. I'm sorry, 55,600 area. That's where the support is. If we lose 55,600, we're looking for a dump for the 54,800s. And if we hold support, we could try to rebound for 57,000. We're kind of stuck in the middle. I think that there is potential for Bitcoin to dip a little bit, but we'll just have to wait and see just for confirmation. So give this the time it needs. For others out there, we also have NQ. NQ is also range bound. If we lose 18,800, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down towards lower levels such as 18,500. If we break past 19,100, the 20 EMA, we could be looking for 19,300. We're range bound right now. If you look at the last 3 days, it's been going back and forth and back and forth. So give this the time it needs. We're still kind of stuck for the time being. So we'll see what the data gives us. I'm seeing that it's looking a little bit weaker than that of the QQQ, but the triple Q, on the other hand, is looking decent overall. It's trying to hold this support. So if we end up losing 458s tomorrow, it's looking like that's always a possibility. We're looking for this imbalance to fill to at least 453, if not the gap fill all the way down to 451. So there's going to be a big rug pull if we end up losing 458s tomorrow. If we end up breaking past 416, we hold above it, we could be retesting 462. If we break that, I could be looking for 465. As of right now, we're just range bound, going back and forth and back and forth. So we're not really doing much on the QQQ quite yet. We're just completely range bound. So give this the time it needs. We'll see which way this breaks. I do want to mention that the PPO right here is looking like it's trying to cross over. Generally, that could lead to some upside, but it's not a guarantee. Nothing is guaranteed in this market as there's a lot of manipulation and such. So we'll just have to give the market the time it needs. So that being said, the market's range bound. We'll see how tomorrow goes depending on the unemployment data an hour before the market opens. And otherwise, we're just a little bit range bound on the QQQ. Apple, on the other hand, is showing some strength. I called this out in the morning that it was holding its 200 EMA nicely. We could be looking for a rebound. That's exactly what ended up happening. So for Apple, if we were to lose 218, we turn bearish for 216 or below. And if we try to break past 223.6 around this range right here, we could be looking for the 226s. In my opinion, I think there's a good chance we try to rebound and try to push towards these EMAs as soon as tomorrow. That looks a little bit more probable, but not a guarantee unless we see the data. So I'll have to wait on that. I do want to note technicals do suggest more upsides coming to Apple for that 226 targets. It does look a little bit more bullish to me. But once again, this could always be a trap, so always be open-minded just to be safe, depending on what the data looks like tomorrow. For Neo, we're looking very bullish. I'm calling this out because they had very, very good earnings. As long as we hold above 4.6, I could be looking for a rally for 5, if not 5.25, if that breaks to fill the gap. So it looks more bullish to me, at least from a technical standpoint. Just like it's just like its parent stock Tesla, it's doing a very, very great job right now. So once again, guys, Tesla looks very, very nice inverse head and shoulders, but whether or not this plays out depends on what kind of reaction we get to the data. With that being said, I'm going to focus on the rest of these and be kind of quick, so I only have like a limited time right now. So looking at Palantir, I just want to mention that Palantir is just range bound right now. We're stuck between 29.5 and about 31.8. If we lose 29.5, we're looking for a rug pull into the 28s. If we break past the 31.8 area, we're looking for the 32s. We're just completely range bound, so give this the time it needs. So we'll just have to see how things end up developing. It depends on the data to break out of this range. Supermicro, on the other hand, looks more bearish as we're making lower highs and lower lows. We're basically looking for the 400 area. If we lose 400, we're looking for 380. If we hold this, we could try to rebound. I presume the most likely possibility is we dip a little bit more for 400 tomorrow, and then we'll see if we bounce or not, depending on the unemployment numbers. But so far, downside's looking quite imminent for this stock, and it might be testing 400 very, very soon. For Rivian is once again approaching this 13.75 area. If we break that, we're looking for 14. If we reject it, we could be dipping. So we have a double bottom that's forming. This does have some potential to rebound. So I could be looking for the 14 plus area. So we'll give it some time to see if we get that bounce. For so far, we're dipping a little bit. We're basically looking for this 7.18 area as our main support. If we hold and try to rebound off of this, we could try to push back up to 7.5. And if we end up losing support, we could be dumping all the way down to the low sevens. Tomorrow we have big unemployment numbers, which could affect, treasury yields, not to mention the Fed's projected rates. So that will end up affecting the finance sector really hard, and that's going to affect like SoFi and other finance stocks out there. So I think what's going to happen is we dip a little bit for SoFi tomorrow. Then we'll see what the reaction is after we get our unemployment numbers. Will it cause a big bounce or a dump? We'll just have to wait and see. For the IWM Russell 2000, we look a little bit more bearish. We're kind of dipping right over here, but we haven't officially, I wouldn't say we really lost the support strongly quite yet. So there's still some hope for it to rebound. So what I mean is tomorrow, if we get a negative reaction to the data and we don't hold above 212, there's a risk of us coming all the way down to 208 to fill this imbalance and even fill the gap. If we do hold above 212, we could be looking for a rebound back up towards 215. So it all depends on if we could get a good reaction or not. So hold above 212 and then 215 becomes possible. If we don't hold above 212, we could be looking for a rug pull for 208, especially as we have this big gap to fill. Let me just show you the gap real quick. So the daily chart shows this gap very, very nicely all the way down here. That would take us all the way down to the 208s, like I was saying. So we'll see, guys. I'm concerned about the IWM, but we'll just have to wait and see. For AMD, we're on a bit of a downtrend. We're making lower highs consistently as we have this rejection trend line that's forming right over here. So if we get a good reaction tomorrow, we're looking for a break of 142 to turn back up. If we lose 136, we turn bearish to start dipping lower. As of right now, we're making lower highs, so we are suggesting that downside is looking more imminent. So we might be looking for a dip all the way down towards the 135 area or below. So give this the time it needs. But we are looking more bearish from a technical standpoint, so give this some time. For ARM, we're also on a bit of a channel right now. We have 125 as resistance and 120 as support. This looks like on the 4 hour is trying to turn upwards, so it suggests that 125 is likely coming. But then we'll see if we reject off that or not, because every time we saw these rallies, we rejected, we rallied, rejected, rallied, rejected, rallied, and rejected. So I might be looking for a little rally before it rejects as the most likely possibility. But just to be safe, we'll see what the reaction is to the unemployment data. For Coinbase, we're actually looking kind of bearish right now. We're continuing to fall. There's no sign of a bounce quite yet. We'll see if we can try to get back above 160 or not. If we fail, we're looking for basically 155. 155 looks a little bit more probable if we do continue to fall. So I'll be watching to see if we end up bouncing or not. But so far, we are looking a little bit more bearish, in my opinion. So I think coin could be getting closer to the mid 150s, and we'll see if we bounce or not. This depends on Bitcoin and also what kind of reaction we get to the data tomorrow. So be very patient nonetheless and give this the time it needs. For Amazon, we're range bound right now. We could be forming a cup and handle, but we are technically range bound because if we break 178, the 200 EMA, we're looking for 180. If we lose 174, we're going to be dipping back down to 172. Because of this cup and handle like structure, we're just range bound for now. So give this the time it needs. And then we'll see if 178 breaks or not. But overall, Amazon's doing a very good job at holding up and has potential to push into the 180s. So we'll see if we get that break or not. So give this the time it needs to be very, very patient nonetheless. It depends on the data, of course. And by the way, about Amazon, let me just clarify this. If we break 178, we're looking for 180. And if we lose 175, we're looking for 172. We'll see what the move is. It does look a little bit more bullish, technically speaking. So we'll see. Meta looks a little bit more bullish technically, but that depends if we could break above the 520 to 518 area or not. If we reject off that area, we're looking for a big rug pull all the way down towards the 510s. If we break past 518 to 520, we're going to be looking for 525. So we'll just have to see how things end up developing right over here. But in my personal opinion, the 4 hour on Meta is looking a little bit more bullish. It does suggest that upside's a little bit more imminent. So we'll see what ends up happening from here. For Microsoft, we have a double bottom leg structure. We're also range bound. If we end up losing 405, we're looking for a dip into the 402 area, followed by 398. If we end up pushing for 410, we're looking for a push for 413. We're completely range bound, so we'll be watching to see how this ends up moving. We're going back and forth and back and forth. But in my personal opinion, it's very indecisive. It just doesn't know which way it wants to go yet. It's just waiting for the data. That's why it's just going back and forth between supply and demand between these key levels. For Google, it's the same thing. We're basically looking at 156 and 158 as our supports, and the resistance to watch for is right about here around this 160 area. So if we break 160 tomorrow, we're looking for 162, and if we end up losing support, we're looking for 156. We'll see which way we go just to be safe. DJT is falling. We're looking for 17 as our key support. We'll see if we bounce off that or not, but I think it could be consolidating there. The VIX is dipping for now, but we'll be watching to see if we're forming a bull flag or not. It's going to make a big move regardless of technicals tomorrow. So we'll see if we dump or pump off the unemployment data. That depends on what the reaction happens to be. The 10-year is also rejecting right over here. We'll be watching to see what the reaction is. This will be very dependent on what kind of reaction we get to the data. And then the dollar is forming a possible inverse head and shoulders, but there's no guarantee of a bounce yet. Well, it's still technically on a downtrend right here, so we'll see if we bounce or not. That's also going to affect the market for tomorrow. We're at support though, so we'll see. With that being said, guys, Tesla is looking stronger than the overall market. It looks very promising in terms of its setup, but these setups are not 100% guaranteed. Although it's more favorable that this will try to push higher looking at the setup, it's not 100% guaranteed until we see what the reaction is from the data and if Tesla could break past the resistance at that 235 area. So that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have a great day. Get ready for unemployment data tomorrow before the market opens. I'll be giving you guys a very, very in-depth update on that. Until I see you guys again, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, night, or evening, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow before the market opens. Thank you for listening, and peace out.